of demo session, and in this session we'll be discussing about how to automate applications in mobile device with live example. Okay, so before going into the automation script, let me give you an overview of Appium and how its architecture goes. So first let's understand what Appium is and how its architecture works along with the Appium client and the real-time mobile device. Okay, so Appium basically, as you know, I think many of you would be aware that it is an open source automation tool, and it supports automation on both Android as well as iOS devices. Okay, and apart from that, it also supports automation using multiple programming languages like Java, PHP, Python, Perl, and so on. Okay, so whatever programming language you are comfortable with, you can start writing or scripting your automation code with it along with Appium. And then it supports automation on all applications like web apps, native apps, hybrid apps, and so on. I hope you already have an idea regarding these applications that I am mentioning now. Um, so web app is something that let me give you an idea of what these applications mean. So web app is an application that you can open only on a browser. For example, consider any blogging website, um, or just take for example even iTeLearn. You can only access it through a browser, right? And native app is something that you can get it from the Play Store only. For example, Skype. And then hybrid app is something that you get from your Play Store, and you can also access it through your browser. An example is Amazon, wherein you have a separate application for it, and also you can get it from the browser using the URL saying www.amazon.com. So this is about Appium. It is open source automation tool. It supports multiple platforms like Android and iOS, and also multiple languages support. Along with that, it also supports automation on all applications in mobile device. Okay. This is much about the introduction of Appium. So now let me tell you about its architecture, because that's the main thing that we need to understand before we try using Appium for our automation. Okay, so in this diagram you can see that Appium is following a client-server architecture. Obviously, it is saying it is a client-server architecture, but how does it happen? How does the workflow uh, actually work? So here you have three components: Appium client, and Appium server, and the end device. So here Appium client is something wherein you write your automation code. So this holds both your configuration details as well as the test cases logic. Okay, and then Appium server is the node.js programming language. That is, the Appium server is written using node.js programming language, and this server will receive commands from the Appium client in JSON format, and these commands are interpreted by the Appium server, recognized, and then the appropriate mobile device is connected and the automation is run on it. So basically your Appium client is nothing but the automation script that we code. Okay, so this script can be in any programming language. It can be in PHP, Java, Perl, Python, C Sharp, and so on. Okay, so whatever programming language you use in order to script your automation code, that is what you call as the Appium client. So what does your Appium client hold? It holds your configuration details. When I say configuration details, it means that your device name, your application that you're going to automate on, maybe your device version as well, like Android 5.1 or iOS, whatever version that you'll be working on. And then along with this configuration details, you'll also have the test cases, that is the automation script that holds the test cases in order to run them on your application. Okay, and when these commands are sent to Appium, they are sent in form of JSON format. Only then Appium will be able to recognize it and make appropriate actions on the end user. Okay, so these commands will be sent as JSON format, and Appium will recognize the configuration details. That is, it will read the device name, Android version, whatever you are looking for. And if that device is connected with the system, the connection will be established, and further test cases will be run or will be automated on that particular device. Okay, so the end device is not only a mobile device, it also can be an emulator, which is a virtual device. Instead of having your real-time mobile device, you can also have an emulator created in the system, and the automation can proceed on that device as well. Okay, so I have a question asking what is JSON. JSON basically is a format that Appium recognizes in order to read the messages from the Appium client. So the Appium client here, you'll use whatever programming language that you are comfortable with. You might use Java or PHP or Perl, whatever language you are fine with coding your automation script, right? But what Appium server will do is that it looks for JSON commands in order to recognize the devices and the test cases, because Appium is able to recognize the commands only in JSON format. So the Appium client, before sending the commands, it will have certain jar files that helps the automation script to convert itself to JSON, and then that commands are read by Appium. Okay, it has a particular format like key value pair. You'll for example, you'll have something called device name and then maybe Nokia. So this is how the JSON format looks like, maybe model number and then the value of the model number. So those are simple formats which Appium recognizes for performing the function. Okay, whatever programming language you use, those will be converted into JSON by the Appium jar files itself, and those JSON commands will be read by Appium server. Okay, so any doubts until this regarding the architecture? The reason why we are telling this is a client server architecture is that we are having Appium as a middleware, wherein your your automation script that is programmed in any programming language will be read by Appium, and depending upon whatever configuration you have specified, the corresponding end device will be recognized, and then the session will be established. So that's the reason we say client server architecture. And then once the session is established, it will reply back to the client saying the connection is successful, and then the automation scripts are run on the end device. Okay, shall we proceed to the next installation part? Are you clear with the introduction and the architecture? Okay. Okay, so before jumping into the automation script, I'll give you an overview of the basic installation steps that has to be carried out before you start creating a project for automating an application on your mobile device. So the first is to have your JDK set inside your local machine, and also download the Android SDK. So the reason for having JDK is that you should have your Java environment set in your local machine, and only then you can write your scripts using this Java dependency. And then Android SDK is required for various other configurations when you are talking to your mobile device. So this helps us in order to create a virtual device, an emulator, and also it has one more tool called UI Automator Viewer, which helps us to interact with the native app and find elements on it. So this you'll understand in detail when we are using it. So for now, just have JDK and Android SDK installed in your machine. I'll show you how to do it. So for JDK, you can get it from the official website. Download the latest version of JDK and have it installed. So download the JDK, and in my case I have it installed in C program files, and here I have my JDK file downloaded. Okay. So once your JDK file is downloaded and saved in your local machine, the next step is to set the Java environment for your system. So for that, just go to my computer, right click, properties, and then advanced system settings, environment variables. Here add a new variable, and here is where you're going to specify the path where your Java is placed. So in my case, my Java is placed in C program files, a folder called Java. Under that I have a folder called JDK 1.8 and so on. And under that I have my Java placed inside the bin. I have my Java here. Okay. So what I do is that until this path, I'll specify my path variable like this. I will say my variable value is until bin, and my variable name is Java, any user defined name, Java underscore home. So once I set this variable, my system is able to recognize the Java that I have installed, and I can use it for my automation. So let me click on OK. And now you can see that the variable is added to the list and it is getting reflected over here. Okay, so now in order to confirm that your system is able to recognize the Java install, just go to command prompt, type in Java hyphen version, and it should list the latest version of Java that you have installed. Okay. Okay, so here you can see that the Java version is specified as, let me highlight it, 1.8.0144. So that is the JDK version that I have installed. And once I have set my environment variables, it was able to recognize the Java. So this is how I set my environment variables. Okay, my variable is set, and once it is set, my system is able to recognize the Java version that I have downloaded. Okay. So this is the first step towards automation, and next is have your Android SDK installed. For that, again, you can get from the Android official website. Just type in Android SDK and download the jar file. So here you'll have the Android SDK. Okay, it's taking some time. Yeah. So here you have the SDK zip file. Just download it and extract it in your local system. So in my case, I have downloaded it and I have placed it in this path. Let me show you. So whatever OS that you are using, just download the corresponding Android zip file. So in my case, I'm having a Windows OS, so I'm getting the SDK of the Windows machine, and I have it downloaded in my local system. Okay, so I have it. I'll show you how the structure looks like once you've completed downloading the zip file. Okay, so first we saw how to download JDK and then you download your SDK. Meanwhile, let it open in the other folder. Meanwhile, I'll tell you what to do for the next installation steps. Once JDK environmental variable is set, next you have to set the SDK variable also. So for that, again, you go to my computer, right click, and you set the environmental variables like we did for JDK, and then your SDK is all set. So let me tell you how. Okay, meanwhile, if I'm just experiencing some lag in opening the particular folder. So let it get open. And the third step is to install your Appium. Again, you can get it from the official website. Just type in Appium in Google and you can get it downloaded in your system. And once you have downloaded, it's also available as a jar file. So once you have downloaded, you should extract it in whatever location you would like to have your Appium to be placed. And your Appium will be available in your local system. And then for any automation code, you'll be having your Selenium jar files downloaded, right? So have your Selenium jar files downloaded, and along with that, you should have your Appium client libraries. So what do you mean by Appium client libraries? If you're going to code using Java, you have Appium Java client jar file. If you're going to do using PHP, you have separate jar file for PHP also. Similarly, for other programming languages, you have separate jar files for Appium. So that is also available in the official website of Appium. Just type in Appium client and whatever programming language you're looking for. For example, if you're looking for Java, just type in Appium client Java library file and that jar file will be available in the system. Get it downloaded and have these ready for the first initial configuration process. Okay. Um, is this installation fine or do you want me to show how to get these installed on the machine? Okay. So I'm just showing it. For the Android SDK, so for the first JDK, I showed you how to set the JDK environmental variable. So for Android SDK, this is how the folder structure will look like. Android SDK. Okay, and here you have various tools that we'll be using in further automation scripting. So while creating a project for automation, you'll understand why are we using this Android SDK. Basically, what this Android SDK does is that it will have Android Virtual Device Manager. This is AVD Manager, which helps us to create a virtual device or an emulator. And then you also have something called UI Automator Viewer inside the tools folder, which is a tool that helps us to talk to the native app and interact with elements in it. Okay, so this we will see in detail when we are automating it. So this is the second installation wherein you should have Android SDK installed. Once it is installed, again you need to set the environmental variable for that. To set the environment variable, you go to my computer, right click, properties, and here in advanced settings, you will add a new variable under environmental variables. So just give add new and here specify the path where your Android SDK is placed. So my Android SDK is placed in this path. So I'll just specify it until this. So it would be until this. Okay. Yeah, so just specify the path until wherever your Android is placed in your system, and then give a user defined name for that, maybe Android underscore home. And once you have clicked on OK, your variable will get created inside the list. Okay, like this, you'll have your Android SDK variable created. So now your system is able to recognize the Android that you have installed as well as the Java. And the next step that I showed you was to have the Appium installed in the system, right? For that, again, you can get Appium from the official website. Just go to Google and type in Appium. Yeah, and you'll have the Appium available from the official website. Download the Appium. So this will take few minutes. Once you download it, just extract the jar file. So in my case, I have extracted in this particular location. So once you download it, you'll have an installer available. Let me show you how the installer will look like. Okay, you can see the Appium installer, right? So you'll have the installer available, and then once you install it, you can specify the location where the installation should take place. In my case, I have it installed in C program files Appium, and this is how the folder structure will look like after installation. And you have the application inside this folder saying Appium. Okay, this is the third step towards the installation process, wherein you should have your Appium configured. And once it is done, have the Selenium jar files and Appium client libraries. So these are the dependency files that are required for your project in order to create your automation script. So for the Selenium jar files, again, if you have already worked in automation using Java for a web browser, I think you will be aware of this. Just get your Selenium jar files downloaded from the Selenium official website. So here you have the jar files available. Download the latest version and have the jar file set in your local machine, and then Appium client libraries. For that, just type in Appium client libraries and it will be redirected to the page wherein you have the libraries available. Here you can see the libraries available for different programming languages, right? So for whatever language that you are going to script your automation code, get that particular Appium client library file downloaded. So this is a jar file. So in case of if I want Java, I'll just download this jar file. Okay, so I have the jar file over here. I'll download the jar file and the download process will begin. So in case if you are using any other programming language, then you can select that particular programming language and have it downloaded. Okay, so this is much about the basic installation process before you start setting up your project for Appium. Let me see if I have any questions. Yes, you need to set environment variable for Android SDK also. So that's what I showed you. You go to system settings, variables, add a new variable, and here you set the path wherein your Android SDK is placed. Okay, any doubts until this? So this is just an high level overview of the installation process. We'll be discussing in detail in the further sessions wherein you have lot of other softwares also required along with Appium. So that I will be discussing in detail in the real time sessions. So for the demo session, I'm just giving you the basic requirements that is necessary in order to create a project using Appium, your Java, Android SDK, and then Appium, the jar files, that is the dependency files, Selenium jar files, as well as the Java client library files. Okay, any doubts until this? Okay, so once you have all these jar files and Appium installed in your machine, the next step is to have your mobile device connected and verify whether your device is recognized by the system, and you can automate or perform automation on that particular device. For that, let me first show you the device and the basic setup that you have to make prior to making the connection. So I'm just connecting the mobile device now using remote control. Okay, so I think you're able to view my mobile screen. So the first step that you have to do is to enable USB debugging in your mobile device. So to do that, just go to settings. Go to settings inside the mobile device, and here just go to about phone. Okay, and here you'll have something called bill number. So click on this 7 to 8 times. Once you perform tapping on it 7 to 8 times, you'll get a pop-up saying you are now a developer. But in my case, I've already performed this operation, so it is saying that you are already a developer. So for the first time when you're doing it and tapping on the bill number for 7 to 8 times, you'll get a pop-up saying you are now a developer. Only after you get the pop-up, just go back, and then you'll have the developer options getting displayed under your settings like this. You can see the developer options getting displayed, right? Now click on developer options, and then here enable the USB debugging mode. So here you have something called USB debugging. Just enable it. Okay, I just disabled it, so it went off. Let me enable it. Okay, so under debugging, just enable this toggle icon, USB debugging, and then your phone will be ready to be connected to the system. Okay, so that's the initial configuration that you have to have it ready in your mobile device before you connect to the system. The first step is go to settings, see whether you have developer options displayed under settings. If not, then go to about phone and click on the build number 7 to 8 times. Okay, and once you tap on the build number continuously for 7 to 8 times, you'll get a pop-up saying you are now a developer. Once you get that pop-up, go back, and now we will see the developer options getting displayed. Here, just enable the USB debugging mode. And once you have enabled it, you will have a pop-up here saying USB debugging is connected. Okay, so once you have this message available, then make a connection to your system using the USB cable. So now let me make the connection, and you'll see how it will be displayed in my system. Now I'm making the connection using USB cable. Okay, and now my system should be able to recognize the device that I have connected. For that, I go to command prompt, and then I type in a command saying ADB devices. If this command is giving me a response along with the device name that I have connected, then it means that my system is able to recognize the device for which I have made the connection now. Okay, so I just say ADB devices, and here you can see the device name getting listed. So this is the device name, which means that my system is able to recognize the device that I have connected now. Okay, so this is the first step for configuring your mobile device to the system. Have your mobile developer options enabled, and once the USB debugging mode is enabled, then make a connection to your USB cable and then type in the command in your command prompt saying ADB devices, and that should give you a response with your device name, and only then your connection is successful. Okay. Oh. Okay, so this is the first step for connecting your device to the system. Any doubts until this? Okay, so now we'll proceed with automating an application in your mobile device. So in this case, I'm selecting a YouTube application for automating the for automating using Appium. So I'll just show you a simple test case. Yes, you should have your mobile device attached to the system in case if you want to run it on your real-time mobile device. If you want to do it on an emulator, then you can use emulator for automation. But now I'm going to show you a demo on which you are going to automate it on your real-time mobile device. Okay, so I'll just give you an overview again. Just go to settings and see whether you have developer options present. If it's not present, go to about phone and click the bill number or tap on the bill number 7 to 8 times, and you'll get a pop-up saying you are a developer. But in my case, I've already enabled my developer mode, so it is saying you're already a developer. If it is the first time for you, then you will have to tap it for 7 to 8 times, and you will get a pop-up saying you are now a developer. Once you get that message saying you are now a developer, then go back and you have the developer options. Here, just enable the USB debugging mode. Once it is enabled, you will have a message saying USB debugging connected. Okay, and after you get this message, take your USB cable and connect it to your PC. Once the connection is made, then go to your command prompt, type in the command saying ADB devices, and your mobile device should be recognized by the system, which means that the device name should get listed in the response. Okay, it's very simple. Have your USB debugging mode enabled here, and just make the connection, and your device will be automatically recognized by the system. Okay. Um, next, next is about the initial configuration steps in the automation script and how do we automate an application. Now let me open Eclipse. Okay, so in this session, I'm just showing you how to automate it on the real-time mobile device for an application. So we will go with that flow. Okay, so before we try to write our automation scripts, first we should select the application that we are going to automate. So in my case, I'm going to automate YouTube app. So first let me open the application. Okay. So this is the application that I'll be automating, the YouTube application. Okay. And there are three basic requirements that are necessary before you try to script your automation code. Let me tell you what are those. So the first one is the device name, the application name, the application package name, the device version, the OS. Okay. The device name, the OS of the device that you are working on, OS version number. So these are details pertain to the device. Next are the details pertain to the application that we'll be automating. So first comes the application name, and then application package name, and application activity name. Okay, so using these information only, Appium will be able to set the connection with the device and it will perform automation on it. So first let's have these information collected and then we'll see how to automate it. So first is the device name. To get the device name, as we saw, when you type in ADB devices, you're getting a device name listed in the response. So just take the device name and note it down. Okay, so this is going to be the device name for your device that you have connected for this instance. Next comes the OS of the device. So in this case, if you want to know the OS, you can just go to settings and you'll have about phone, and here you have your OS mentioned. So mine is an Android device and the version of the Android is 5.1. Okay, so my OS is Android and its version is 5.1. Okay, so now I have all the device details ready. Next comes the application details. So my application details is whatever application that I'll be performing automation on. So in this case, as I told, I'm going to perform automation on this YouTube application. For that, I have to get two main details. One is the package name, another one is the activity name. Okay, so for the package name, in order to get these details, you have another shell command that you have to type in, and then your these details will be populated in your response. So let me show you how. For Apple also the same you have to do. Okay, that's not, you don't have much difference. The same procedure you have to follow for iOS also. Okay. So now here first type in ADB shell, and then in ADB shell you have to write a shell command which gives you package name and activity name of your application that you'll be working on. So before that, have your application open inside your device. Have your application open inside the device and then run this command that I give you. So let me tell you what command you should run. Okay, so just have this command typed in over here, and then before clicking on enter, open your application and keep, so that your current focus will be on this application and those details will be, and the details pertaining to that particular application will be available in its response. Okay, because this command, as you can see, it is going to get the details pertaining to the application that is opened at that point of instance. Okay, so it's saying current focused app, so that's the command. So from the command you're able to guess that you're focusing or you're getting the details of an application that has or that is opened at that point of instance. So before you run this command, have your application open and then give on enter over here. Okay, so now you have your details listed here. Just copy this and paste it in your notepad or somewhere else. Paste it in your notepad, and here the string that is before your slash is what we call as the package name, application package name, and the string that follows the slash is what we call as the activity name. Okay, so this is going to differ for each and every application, and the way to get this package name and activity name is the same. You have to type in this ADP shell command and then open the application. Let me show you for another application. Let me give you an example for another application. Again, go to command prompt. So before typing in the shell command, first verify whether your system is able to recognize the device. For that, give ADB devices. Yes, it is able to recognize the device. Next, open the application. Give your shell command and then type in the shell command. So this is my shell command. I type in, but I'm not giving on enter. I'm just typing in. Let me open an application. Let me open maybe Yahoo Mail. And now I'll give on enter. Once it is opened, I'll give on enter. Okay. Yeah. And now you can see that I have the application package name and activity name in the response. Just copy it and paste it in the notepad. Whatever is preceding your slash is going to be your package name, and the string that is after the slash is going to be your activity name. Okay. So these two components are important in order to communicate with your application, because using these two components your Appium is going to recognize your application and communicate with it. Okay, so for that, have this command in mind. Run this ADB shell command and then open your application that you will be interacting with, and automatically you will get these package name and activity name in the response. Okay, any doubts until this? How do we get the package name and activity name? So this is actually a kind of little tricky wherein you have to get these details. Sometimes you have another command saying ADB logcat, but that gives us it's a kind of a log information. So if you say ADB logcat, it will give you the log information of whatever activity that you're performing on your Android device. For example, if you're doing a type action, everything will be captured, and from that you have to get your activity name and package name. But that is quite complex. So in order to reduce its complexity, I'm using this ADB shell command, wherein I'm just getting the focus of the application that I have opened at that point of instance. And from that, I'll get the package name and activity name. Okay. So is it clear until this? How do we get the details like device name, OS of the device, the version, application package name, and activity name? Is it fine until this? Okay. So now the device name, the application package name, activity name, and then the OS of the device and the version number. Okay, I have all this information available, and these are the information that is going to help me in order to recognize the device using Appium. Now let me go to the automation script. So now just create a project in your Eclipse. Okay. For now, just understand this flow. Later, you can try it from your own device, or else you will not understand what's going on here and what are you trying over there. So for now, just understand this. Later, once this session is complete, you can try it from your own device. Okay. So have your project created and then create a class under it. And inside your project, add whatever dependency jar files that is required. So in our case, we should add the Selenium jar files as well as the Appium Client jar files, right? So here, just right click, go to build path, configure build path. Add external jar files. Okay, so I have my Selenium jar file available. So these are my Selenium. Okay, let me show you. I have downloaded it in my local system. I have the Selenium jar file, these two, as well as my Appium client jar file. So I'll add this along with my Java client Appium jar file that I downloaded. So first I'll add these two, and then I have the Java client file downloaded for Appium. So I'll add that as well. And along with this, I'm going to add testng jar file also, because in this live example, I'm going to show you how to use it along with the TestNG framework. So I'll add all the dependencies that is required for my project and I'll click on OK. Okay, now that you can see all the dependency jar files are added, you can see the Selenium jar file added, and then the Java client jar file added for Appium. This is the Java client jar file for Appium, and then you have your Selenium jar file. Okay, so all the dependencies are added now. So let us start with creating the project. So first, you have to set your initial configuration with which Appium will talk to your real-time mobile device. So already we have these components available, which we have interpreted the device name, the application package name, and activity name. So we'll see how to use this in our automation script now. So I'm just creating. Okay, so I'm just creating a class called YouTube, and here is where I'm going to write my initial configuration. So as you know, in Java, you write public static void main, right? So this is where your starting point of execution begins. When you write public static void main, and then you write your main code under this piece of method piece of block, right? You write all your main code under public static void main, which means that your Java reads or starts the execution only after this point. Okay, so that's how public static void main works in Java. Now I told that I'm going to use TestNG for this kind of automation, right? So for TestNG I have an annotation. Annotation is something that helps us to reduce the code complexity and looks and makes the code look more in a simpler way. Okay, so here I have an annotation called at test, which means that whenever I specify at test, then Java should consider it to be executed. So when I say at test and when I say some method, then it should consider this method to be executed. Okay, so this is similar to our public static void main. Okay, so now I'm not going to use this, I'm just going for at test annotation. So just import the testng jar file, import the jar file over here, and now we are ready to go. So I'm going to create two methods. One is the initial configuration setup, another one is the main test case, wherein I'll execute all the test cases here. So here in this case, I should execute both the methods. So I'll put at test for both the methods, which means that my Java code will read and execute whatever I have coded inside both these methods. Okay, so the starting point will be from here and then from here. So that's how it will work. Now, now let's start writing our main code. So we have a class in Java saying desired capabilities. So what does this class basically do is that it helps us to store all the properties of the device as well as the browser. So let me tell you how. So first I'm creating an object for this class. Okay, so this class basically will help me to store the objects or the properties of the device as well as the browser as well as the application. So properties of the device or the browser and the application can be stored inside using this class called desired capabilities. So by creating an object for this class, I can define each and every property. For example, the device name, the application name, the device version, and so on. So let me show you how we'll do it. So first I'm creating an object for the class, and then I say object name dot set property or set capability. So here we are going to specify the property name followed by the property value. That is what it tells us as key and value. Here the first parameter will be the property name. Second parameter is going to be the property value. So what will be the property name? It can be the device name. It can be the Android version. It can be the application name. It can be the Android name. It can be the application package name, activity name. So all the details that are pertained in order to recognize your device as well as the application as well as the browser is what you call as setting your property for that particular configuration. Okay, so in this case my desired capabilities is going to help me in order to set all the initial configuration for my device, as simple as that. So whatever initial configuration that I told you, in this case I told you that these are the initial configuration required in order to talk to Appium so that Appium recognizes my device and runs automation on it. So these configurations or these properties I am going to set using desired capabilities, which will help me to define each and every property and set corresponding values for it. Okay, so let me show you how to do it. So the first property that I'm going to set is going to be the device name. Sorry. So what I do here, let me. So what I do here is that I say the property name is device name followed by the property value, that is the device name's value. That's it. Now I have defined my device name. Next I should define platform name, browser name, version, application package name, and activity name. So this is a string, so I'm just giving it in string. Similarly, the other properties as well. What are the other properties? OS of the device, OS version number, application package name, activity name. So let me define the other properties as well now. Okay, so here I have defined the property name as device name and then platform name, capability browser name, version, application package name, and application activity name. So now I'm going to set the values for these properties. We already have the values available. That is, we have already interpreted those values. Let me show you the values and we'll just fill it over here. Okay, so platform name is going to be Android if you're going to use it on an Android device. In case if you're going to do automation on your iPhone, then it will be the iPhone. In case it's an iPad. Okay, so in my case it is Android, so I just give Android. And then next comes the browser name. So here I'm going to perform automation on a native app, which means that I'm going to do it on a app that I got from Play Store. In case if you want to do automation on a Chrome browser in your mobile device itself, then in that case you can specify Chrome. For example, I'll just show it on a mobile device. For example, if you want to perform automation on this Chrome browser in your mobile device, then you specify your browser type as Chrome. But in my case, my automation is to be performed on a native app, that is the application that I downloaded from Play Store or the application that I got installed in my mobile device, that is YouTube. So in this case, my application is a native app, so I don't have any browser to open in order to interact with the application. Rather, I have the Android device for interaction, the device itself. So here my browser type will not be Chrome, rather it will be Android device itself. So here it will be Android, because I'm going to perform automation on a application, not on a browser. and then version is corresponds to the version of your mobile device. So in my case it is 5.1. Okay, and then comes, so these are the details pertaining to your device. Okay, so now next comes the details that are connected to your application that you will be automating. In my case the application is YouTube, and I already have the application package name and activity name read. Just have this value filled in over here, that's it. I hope you okay, I hope you know how to get this application package name and activity name. You just go to command prompt, type in adb shell, and then you open your application side by side in your mobile device, right? And then you run your application. Once your application is open, you run a command saying current focus m focus tab, and then in your response you'll get your application package name and activity name. Okay, so now we have all our initial configuration set and ready. Okay, so using this configuration, Appium will be able to recognize my device and connect with it and also perform automation on it. So I just defined my configuration. I haven't made the connection with Appium yet. Here I have just defined what device I'm using, what OS the device has, what application that I'll be automating on, and what version number of my OS the device holds, and so on. So it's all defining the details or defining the configurations pertaining to my device as well as the application. It's only a high level definition that I have provided for my device and the application. Next, I should make the connection with Appium and help Appium in order to recognize this device. How do I do that? Okay, so for that, I told that I'll write my main test case in another method, right? So this method is just an initial configuration setup. Next, I'm going to write the main test case here, wherein Appium will talk to my device and so on. Okay. So now, generally, when we are performing automation, you'll initiate a driver, right? Say for example, if you want to perform automation on a Chrome driver in your local machine, this is how you write. You say Chrome driver, which is nothing but your class name, and then you create an object for your class name followed by new Chrome driver. So in this case, we can tell that an object is created, or in other words, the browser is opened, right? Both are same. So further automation steps that I do, for example, driver dot, I have lots of functions like driver dot find element, driver dot send keys, and so on. Okay, so whatever functions that I do after this step will be formed on that particular browser that I open. So let me show you. Let me show this with an example. Okay, just consider this piece of code. Here I have initiated the Chrome driver, which means my Chrome browser will get opened, and next step of function is I'm just passing the URL inside it, and then I'm doing some function on an element and so on. So the next sequence of actions followed by this object is going to happen on the browser that I have opened using this command saying driver equal to new Chrome driver, right? So when I run this, I'll get a Chrome browser opened. Let me run this and show you. So this is on a local machine. When I'm running it, I'm getting my Chrome browser opened, and all the sequence of steps that is following that particular driver object will be performed on that particular Chrome browser. So let the Chrome browser get opened. Yeah, the Chrome driver is initiated, the Chrome browser is opened, and all the steps that I have performed using the driver object will be performed on this particular browser or on this particular instance of the browser. So that is how we are using Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver of. Okay. So these functions like driver.get and then driver.find element and so on, all these functions will be performed on this Chrome browser itself. Okay, so this is a simple example of how we will do automation on a Chrome browser using Chrome driver. Now the same automation I should perform on an Android application in a mobile device. So to do that, how do I do it? I don't have to use the Chrome driver because I'm not using a Chrome browser there. What am I using there? I'm using a native app for automation, and that is going to be performed on an Android device. I'm going to do automation on this YouTube app, right? So how am I going to do it? I have a driver for that saying Android driver, which will help me to have or to talk to the Android device and perform automation on that particular device. Okay. I have a class saying Android driver, and this class will help me to perform the sequence of steps following the driver object on that particular device. So here, when I say Android driver equal to new Android driver of, I'm creating an object for the driver, or in other words, I can tell that I'm creating an instance to talk to my mobile device. So once my device is recognized using this driver, it will talk to that particular mobile device. When it was for the Chrome driver, we had something like this wherein it talked to that particular Chrome browser. But in this case, it is an Android driver, which means that this is to the pertaining to that particular browser itself. This is to pertaining to that particular device. So that's the difference. So here the instance of the browser is created, and here instance of the device itself is created. Okay. Now, so once I've created the object, my next step is to mention the Appium address in this, because I'm not going to directly talk to my mobile device. I don't have a method to directly talk to my mobile device because I'm not performing automation on my local system. If it is on a local system, I'll just give it like this. Directly it will get the driver and it initiate the driver and open the browser. But in this case, it is not on the local system. I'm going to perform automation on a remote device or on a mobile device that I have connected to the system. So here I need a server in between to talk to my mobile device. That is what, for that is what I need Appium. So I'll pass the Appium address here. So before passing the address, just open Appium that you have installed. Let it get opened. And here you'll be passing the Appium URL along with the other configuration details that we have specified here. Okay. To get the Appium URL, just go to settings. Here you have the server address and the port number. Just enter the server address as parameters inside this and the port number, followed by the properties that you have defined using desired capabilities. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, so basically what will happen here is that in this particular line, your Appium will be okay. So what will happen basically here is that your Android driver will get initiated, and this driver will get its instance using Appium Server, and along with the Appium Server address, you're also passing the other configuration details during runtime. So Appium will be talking to the device using this configuration details. It will recognize the device and then it will perform further automation on it. Okay, so let me tell it in detail. Wait. Okay. When this line is invoked, an instance of the driver is created. Yes. But this driver is created using the Appium server address, and it will talk to the Appium using the server address, and when it is talking to the Appium, it will also pass the other configuration details that we have defined here to the Appium, and Appium will recognize this corresponding device and application. And once the recognition is done, then the session is established with with the device, and then further automation proceeds on it. Okay, so this is the initial configuration step. So until this, just consider that we have coded until this and run this code. What will happen basically is that your Appium server will um, recognize these configurations connected to your mobile system, and once it is found, it will open this particular application inside your mobile device. Okay, so now let me show you how it happens. Before you're running this piece of code, have your Appium server up. Just launch the Appium server. Once it is launched, you will get a message saying Appium server is up. So it will take some time. So meanwhile, I'll tell you how this client server architecture works. So this is your client, wherein we have all our configuration details, the logic to read your application, and the test cases, and so on. So this is going to be your client, and Appium is your server. The mobile device is your end device. Okay, so your client sends commands to the server in form of JSON. Here they are using Java programming language, but the way in which it is getting interpreted is JSON format. Appium reads these JSON commands, recognizes the device, and makes connection with it, and the session is established. So that is how the client server architecture works for Appium. Okay. So as I already told you, your client holds your initial configuration details, the device name, the Android number, the application name. I told you on a high level, right? That is your initial configuration is nothing but your device name, application name, your Android name, and so on. So the configuration along with your test cases. So here you'll have your test cases scripted. This is your client. And then Appium is your server, which reads these corresponding commands and makes connection with that particular mobile device. So that is the device that I have connected with the system. This is the device. Okay. Okay, so now let Appium get launched, and we'll run this particular piece of code, and we'll see what is happening. So it's launching the Appium server. Okay. Here you can see that the server is launched. Welcome to Appium version 1.4.16. So that's how we know that the Appium server is up. See, I told that the client connects to the server using JSON format, right? That is, it recognizes the command using JSON format. So how does it happen is that this client, that is the, okay, this is the client that I told you, and we have scripted all our configuration details in Java. What happens at this line is that your driver will talk to Appium to make a connection with Appium using this URL, and then when it is trying to make a connection, it will pass these commands as well to Appium. But these commands will not be passed to Appium as such. It will be passed in JSON format that we cannot see. That will be passed in JSON format to Appium in backend. That is how it goes to Appium. Okay. Your client will already have certain jar files that helps these Java files to get converted to JSON format. That happens in the backend, which you cannot see. Okay, so now your Appium server is up. Your mobile device is connected. Wait, let me open the mobile device. Yeah, your mobile device is connected. Your Appium server is up. And then your client also has the configuration details. Appium server is up. Mobile device is connected. So now when I run the code, what will happen is that these configurations are defined. Okay, well and fine. The first step that we have mentioned here is to initiate the driver. That is, your Android driver should get initiated, which means that you're trying to establish a connection with the mobile device using Appium. Along with that, you're passing the initial configuration details also. So you are trying to connect with the Appium, and then Appium should talk to your mobile device and then reply back saying you're able to recognize the device. Until this, we should see whether it's able to perform in a smooth manner. So let us run this code now. To launch Appium, you should just open this Appium, and then here you have a button, a kind of play button wherein your Appium server gets launched. That's it. Okay. Now I'm going to run my script. I right click and I run as test-ng. Let me open the mobile device side by side as well as the Appium so that you will see what's happening. So as and when we run the script, you will see the logs getting populated inside your Appium tool. We are having a mobile device connected as well. We'll see what's happening. Okay, so my code is running now. At this point of instance or at this stage, I haven't written any test cases. I have only made the initial configuration to connect with the mobile device. So for now, it should connect with the device and open the application. That's it. We'll see whether that is happening. Yeah, it's getting executed. Yeah, you can see the logs are getting populated. And in my mobile device, the application should get opened. Okay, in this case, I just got an error saying new session could not be created. You can see right in the log you're getting the whatever actions is getting performed is getting reflected in the Appium log as well. It's saying responding to client with error saying the session could not be created. The following desired capabilities are required but were not provided. Device name. Okay, so the device name is not provided. So let's go back and see what's the error. So I think we have a device name. Maybe the name is wrongly, the value of the name is not provided correctly. So I'll just correct it. And now let me try to uh, make a connection. That is, now I'll try to run it. I have my Appium up. I have my mobile device as well. Now we'll see whether it's able to recognize my device and application. Okay, so the code is running. It's running the code. Let me open Appium. Yeah, it's getting some time to execute. Yeah, it's getting executed. You can see the logs are getting populated as and when it's executed. Yes, the application is opened. Yeah, YouTube application is what I was talking about, and that got opened. So in the in the Appium log, you can see getting focused, package, and activity. So using the package name that we sent and the activity name, it was able to get the application from our device and open it. Okay, so that's how it will work when you are trying to establish a connection using Appium. So this is the first line. This is where the execution begins. You're opening your Android driver using Appium, and along with this you're passing these configuration details. Your Appium will read these configuration details during runtime, and it will make a connection with it. Okay, so that's what you saw over here, wherein your Appium, let me show you the log in detail. Your Appium was talking to your device, and then once it recognized the device, next it was able to talk to your okay, the log is getting populated again because it got closed, right? Let me show you again. Wait. Okay, so it is closing up the session, since after that we didn't have any other test case. Okay, wait. Yeah, it's shutting down the Appium session once it is completed, and before that you can see how it started. um, Yeah, so here is where it was able to read the application using the package name and activity name. You can see the package name and activity name getting interpreted, and that is how it found the application, and it was able to open it. See, getting focused, and then it executed that particular command. So these will be read by Appium, and the corresponding shell commands will be run in backend using Appium, and Appium will try to connect the device. Okay, so our job is to just mention these parameters, and using these parameters it will itself interpret its own shell command and run those up and run those in Appium, and make connection with the mobile device. Okay, so this is the initial configuration setup of Appium, and how do you open an application. Next, I'll show you how do you interact with elements in an application. I'll show you, I'll just give it on a high level. For that, you have a tool in Android SDK. Just go to Android SDK bundle wherever you have installed it. So in my case, I have installed it in D:, and I have my Android SDK here. And under tools, you have something called UI Automator Viewer. Okay, just run this tool, and this tool helps us to interact with the elements inside your native app. It's kind of an inspect element that we use for Selenium in any web browser, right? So instead of inspect element, we are using this UI Automator for native applications. Let this get open. Yeah, so this is how the tool looks like. I will open my mobile device side by side so that you will see what is happening over here. So this is just the remote control through which I'm connecting the mobile device, but here the tool is something different. Here I have an icon saying device screenshot, right? So when I click on this icon, I'll get a screenshot of whatever is present on my mobile device currently opened. So now when I give device screenshot, it should take screenshot of whatever is there in the device at this point of instance. Yeah, you can see that the screenshot is available. And then when you hover on each and every element inside your screenshot, you can see the properties getting displayed inside your right pane. In your left pane, you can see your screenshot. In the right pane, you can see the properties of each and every element. For example, just consider I'm going to click on the search icon. Just hover on that element and click on it. You'll get the properties: resource ID, class name, package name, content description, and so on. So these are the properties of that particular element, and this is the node format. So in our HTML source code, you'll have a HTML format. For native apps, you're having the node format. So this is what we call as a node format. So how do we recognize this element now? As in when you hover, you're getting the properties, fine. But how are you going to recognize this element? Let me tell you. So you have various recognition techniques by ID, by class name, by XPath, by link text, and so on. So you have various recognition techniques. This is quite similar to our Selenium web browser automation. The only thing is that the way in which you recognize or you inspect elements is varying. Here you're using UI Automator Viewer in order to inspect elements inside your native app. Okay, so this is going to help you to recognize or inspect these elements and work on it. Okay, so this UI automated tool is actually available from your Android SDK bundle. I already told you that you should have your Android SDK downloaded in your system. So this will be available as a jar file. Once you have extracted it, this is how the folder structure will look like. And then inside tools, you have UI Automator Viewer. Just open it and then you'll have it ready inside your system. Okay, and one more thing to note is that your UI Automator Viewer is not a live tool. For example, just consider I'm making changes over here. It will not get reflected in your tool. It is it is not a live tool. It is a kind of a static tool. It will take screenshot whatever is available at that point of instance, but it will not keep changing as and when you change your screens. In your right pane you can see my remote device, it is connected and I'm changing screens often, but that is not getting reflected in my tool, which means that my tool is not a dynamic device. It is a static device which takes screenshot of your device at that particular point of instance. That's it. If you're making changes, it's not going to reflect. Okay, your changes are not going to reflect. So for each and every change that you make in your screen, or for each and every screen that you traverse, you have to take separate screenshots again and again. Okay. Okay. So in this case, my test case is going to be a simple search criteria. So let me close this tool now. Let me tell the test case and we'll see how to automate it. So from the home page, this is my home page. This is my application. From the home page, I'm just typing in some data and I'm going to verify whether I'm getting that particular text in uh, the first index of the list. So this is the list. The first list, I'm just verifying whether I have this text getting populated. So that is going to be my first test case. For that, let's see how to automate it using Appium. Okay, so let me close this and open the UI Automator tool. So this is the tool. Now I have to take screenshot of the screen that I'm going to interact with. So for that, I click on this icon. It takes the screenshot. Okay. And then the first step is I'm going to click on this search and only then I get that text, right? So I'm going to interact with this search icon. I click on the search icon. So this is the search icon. And I have its properties listed over here. We can see that I have various properties available in order to recognize it. Okay. First comes your resource ID, that is similar to the ID in web browser. Class is similar to your class name in the web browser. And then you have package and content description. So in this case, I will go by the ID itself for recognition and I will perform the action. So for the first action is going to be a click action, right? What I'll do, let me show you the remote control device. Here I'll click on this icon and then I'll do some type action inside this. So first is going to be clicking on this particular icon. So for that, first I will recognize this icon using ID. What I do here is I say So I say driver dot find element. That is a function that helps me to find the element. My identification technique is by ID. So I say by ID and here the value of the ID. The value of the ID is this thing. I just pass the value over here and now my element is recognized. Next is I'm going to perform a click function on it. So I put dot click. That's it. That's the first function that I do on this particular application, right? Let me open the device. Okay, so now I'm done with clicking on the search icon. Next is I'm going to type in something inside this. Okay, so I should be talking to this particular text box, right? So I should be talking to this particular text box in order to type. So before typing on this particular text box, I should inspect it. So for that, I should again go to UI Automator Viewer. Now in this case, I've changed my screen inside my mobile device. So I will take a screenshot again. So just click on this device icon and take the screenshot. Yeah, so now it's taking the screenshot. You don't have another way other than UI Automator Viewer for native apps. So that's why we have Android SDK available, which helps you to inspect your elements using UI Automator Viewer. So now the screenshot is in progress. Once it is available, you will have it in your left pane and you'll have the properties in the right pane. Okay, so now you can see that text box, everything is available, this entire screenshot. So my job is to get the recognition for this particular text box. So what I do, I just hover on that particular text box and click on it. I get the properties inside my right pane. And in this case, maybe I'll go for class name for identification. So what I do is I say driver dot find element by class name and I'll give the value of the class name. That is what I got here. Just give the value of the class name. And my action in this case, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to type in something, right? I'm going to type some text here. So my action here will be send keys. I say send keys and I'll type some text. Okay, some text. That's it. So this is going to be my next action. So once I type on it, next what I'm going to do is that let me open the device. Okay, so once I type here something, let me type a text. Okay, once I type some string over here, I'm going to press on this search button. Wait. Okay, I'm going to press on this search icon. Okay, which means that I'm going to, in other words, I can tell that the search icon is similar to our enter key in the keyboard. In the laptop, you'll have an enter key, right? That is similar to the search icon, right? The search will be similar to our enter button in your laptop or your desktop. So here in this case, I will not be able to interact with this inspect element. I will not be able to interact with this element using the UI Automator Viewer. Rather, I should use some other function in order to do this functionality. Let me show you why. Let me open the UI Automator Viewer. So just take the screenshot of this particular instance and you'll see that you'll not be able to get the search buttons attributes or properties. The reason being it is part of the keypad or it is part of the keyboard similar to your laptop. It is a keypad. So whatever is present in your native app only you can capture. Rather your keypad attributes and elements you'll not be able to capture using the tool. Okay, so that you should have in mind. Let the screenshot come. Okay, so here you can see that you are able to get the properties as and when you hover, you get able to get the properties inside your right pane. But when you go to your keypad, you are not getting it because that is not part of your application, right? It is similar to your keyboard in your system. It's not part of your application. So in order to perform any actions in your keypad, what do? You can't go by UI automated tool. It's not helping you. So in that case, what you can do is that you can directly use the keyboard command. Let me show you. Just give driver dot get keyboard and here pass whatever you would like to do. Press key and you have a class called Android key. Whatever key you would like to press, just press that particular key. That's it. Okay. So this is one format of doing it. Another simple format is just give driver dot send key or you have something called send key code. So just put it like this. Send key event, which means that you're passing some keys from your keypad or from your keyboard. So for that, driver.send key event followed by the whatever key that you're going to type on or press on or click on. So in my case, I'm going to click on the enter button. As I told, the search button is similar to the enter button inside your keyboard, right? This search icon is similar to your enter button in your keyboard. So I just gave enter and that action will get performed. Okay. Okay, next, let me open it. Next, I've clicked on enter. After this, my next step is to verify whether I have this Miffy and friends getting displayed in the list. So for that, let me take the screenshot again because I have changed my screen inside my mobile device. So I will take the screenshot again and only then it gets reflected in the tool. Let me take the screenshot and I'll get this particular elements attribute or properties and I'll verify whether it has the text saying Miffy and friends. So maybe I'll go by the resource ID, that is by the ID itself. And I'll just put a code saying driver dot find element by ID. And here in this case, I'm going to get the text inside it, right? The text. So I say web element dot get text and this text should be Miffy and friends. That's it. I'll just save it in an expected string equal to and then I'll assert it against an actual string. So this assertions is we are using test ng assertions wherein we are verifying a particular test case. Whenever you want to verify a test case, you do assertions. Until this are the test steps. Here is where you're doing your verification. Okay, I told you that a verification or our test case is to verify whether we are getting whatever we type in inside our search results. So that is the verification part. So my actual is what I got from automation and my expected is going to be Miffy and friends. That's it. So do we have the same properties? I'll answer all your queries once this is done. So this is just part of the test, one test case that I showed you, wherein you type in something here. Are you able to view my screen? Yeah, you type in something here and then you see whether your results are getting displayed pertaining to whatever you have typed in. Okay, for that your test steps were first you click on the search button, you typed in Miffy and friends and then you clicked on the search icon and then here you're verifying whether you're having the text saying Miffy and friends in the first list. Okay, so now let me run this and show you and we'll see how it's working. Okay, I'll just run it. I'll open the Appium as well. Before you run any code, always make sure that your Appium server is up and then have your mobile device connected. Verify whether your mobile device is connected as well. To verify whether your mobile device is connected, what do? You go to command prompt and type in ADB devices. Wait. Okay, have your mobile device connected as well as your Appium up and then run your code. So now I'm going to run my code. Okay. Okay, I have my device ready. It's getting launched. Yeah. So in the Appium, you can see the log, and yeah, the log is getting populated, getting device, API level. Wait, let me. Yeah. We're having the log. Yeah, the application is getting opened. So you have the package name, activity name, etc. Yes, it is clicking on the search icon. Now it should enter the text inside it. See, it got command, set text, entering the text. And now it should click on the icon in the keypad. Yeah, press key code 66. So it pressed the particular icon, keypad. And now it should verify whether it has that Miffy and Friends title in the list. Yeah, returning the result, Miffy and Friends, responding to client with success. Okay. Yeah, so now your automation script is done and you can see how it worked using Appium. It's very simple. It's almost similar to your web browser automation using Selenium. The only difference here is that, as you can see, the initial configuration settings wherein you specify your device name and your application name, this thing, as well as the recognition technique that you use in order to interact with your device. You're using UI automated tool. That's the major difference. Other than that, it is very similar to your web browser automation in your laptop that you do. Okay, so is this part clear? So that's much about the live example that I wanted to show you on how to perform automation on a native app using Appium. Any other questions, please post. I'll answer it across now. So I have a question saying, do we have the same properties for one or more elements in mobile app also the same way in Selenium? Revati has asked a question. Okay, Revati. So here I showed you how to get your applications. Sorry, I'm taking a screenshot again. Okay. So in this case, I showed you how to get your applications elements properties using UI automated tool. This is how you do it on your native app. When you're doing it on your web browser, for example, when you're doing it on your browser here itself, I'm just opening the browser on my laptop. What you do, you basically right click and you give inspect. Yeah. And the elements properties will get listed inside your HTML code like this, right? Let it get loaded now. So this is how you do it on your web browser. You have class name. So this is what we say as class name. Class name, ID, right? This class name and ID is how we see on a web browser. That is similar to our resource ID and class in a UI automated tool. Okay, so the way is completely different. Here you have your HTML code and you have tags inside it, but the attributes are same. You have the class name, ID, and so on, but the way in which it is interpreted is different. Here you have your node structure. This is node structure wherein you have your ID, class name, package name, etc. Wherein here you have your HTML code structure, but the attributes are going to be um, same type of attributes, but you'll not have the what to say same values. For example, just consider you're opening YouTube in your laptop. The same attributes you'll not find inside your native app, so that will definitely differ. Okay. um, if you're unable to use UI automated tool from SDK. Okay, so first make sure whether your Android SDK is set inside your environmental variables path, and then try opening the UI automated viewer. What locator we use to verify the second element in the search result is seen. Second element. Okay, so so here you can see attributes like resource ID, class name, package name. So I used the class name for the second element. Okay, wait. So here you can see I used the attribute called class name. Okay. So that is what I got from my UI automator viewer tool, the class name. Okay. Okay, so any other questions? Someone missed the first session. How you discuss how to get mobile device on the machine. So how to connect mobile device with the system, I just showed you in the first few minutes, wherein we discuss about the initial configuration, how to connect with the device. Maybe I'll just tell you on a high level. You have to have your USB mode enabled. For that you go to settings, and then so this is on Android device that I am showing it to you. Someone has asked for iPhone. For iPhone, I'll just check and let you know, but it should be there in iPhone as well. If not, I'll just check and let you know, because I'm not having a device right now to verify. So just give me some time. I'll check and let you know. You should have developer options here. In case if you're not having it in your Android device, go to About Phone and then have your bill number tapped 7 to 8 times, and then you'll have a pop-up saying you are now a developer. Yeah, your bill number 7 to 8 times. Once you have the pop-up saying you are now a developer, after tapping on the bill number, go back and you'll get the developer options ready. Just enable the USB debugging mode over here. That's it. And now your device is ready to be connected to the system. In this case, as I told, someone has asked a question saying, why do we need to give the browser name as Android instead of YouTube? Okay, so in this case, as I told, we are performing automation on an Android device. Okay, so our platform is Android. In case if you're doing automation on a browser, then your platform will be Chrome browser. Similarly, if you're doing it on a Safari browser, you'll specify it as Safari. But in this case, I'm doing it on a native app. So I don't have any browser, rather my platform is Android itself. Okay, so that is the recognition technique that I'll use here. I'll not specify the app name here. My app name will only be used in order to recognize what application I should open. Here I'm just telling that I'm using a native app. Here you tell whether you're using a native app or a web browser or a any other browser like Chrome or Safari. So this place is only to specify what browser or what application you're going to perform automation on, whether it is on a native app, whether it is on a web app. Okay. Any other questions? See, these 4 lines are pertaining to your device. These 2 lines are pertaining to your application.
Hi, Sharmila. This is Roxana. Do we have any
Yeah.
more questions for Sharmila? Today is day 3 demo sessions, and from the next time, it's going to be paid sessions only. So only those members who are going to register, the link for the webinars will be shared with them only. They won't be free anymore. It's only for the paid registrants. And this video will be uploaded on YouTube as well, and also on iTeLearn website. Any more questions for Sharmila? Regarding the pricing, please get in touch with iTeLearn team. They will be able to tell you in details about the price of this mobile app testing training. I guess there are no more questions, Sharmila.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sharmila,
Thank
for
you.
the training for the session today. And
Yeah.
thanks to all the attendees. Um, if you are interested, please do register. Get in touch with IT eLearn team regarding the pricing of the training sessions, and they will be able to guide you through. So thank you, and looking forward to the next sessions.
Yeah.
So we're good to go, Sharmila.
Yeah, sure. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
everyone. Bye.